Breaking news out of Hollywood, and this one is shaking the industry. Freshly unsealed court files from the It Ends With Us battle have rewritten the narrative, flipping everything fans thought they knew about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. For months, Blake was framed as the brave actress standing up to a difficult co-star. But these documents tell a darker story, one of strategy, manipulation, and a ruthless push for absolute control. And right by her side, Ryan Reynolds, not just the supportive husband, but painted here as the architect of the campaign that nearly destroyed Baldoni's career. It all started in late 2023 when Blake demanded a so-called safety agreement after accusing Justin of misconduct.
That she blackmailed him to sign, and she said, if you don't sign this, I won't come back on set. So
on paper, it looked like protection. In practice, it handed her the steering wheel of the entire production. From edits to rewrites, even down to marketing, she suddenly had final say.
Feeling all sorts of things, she used the claim letter to gain power over the whole production, trying to find my balance of captaining a ship and leading it while it's being held hostage.
Behind closed doors, Justin confided to friends that he felt trapped, like the captain of a ship with his hands tied, every word ready to be twisted against him. Then came Ryan's stormy meeting, his shouting match with Justin. But that was just the beginning. The real battle wouldn't be fought on set. It would be fought in the press. Once Blake had her grip on the production, the battlefield shifted from cameras to headlines. The documents show that the plan was simple: control the story, control the audience. And the first shot was fired in August 2024, when TMZ suddenly ran pieces about HR complaints against Justin. The timing? Just days after his team refused to take blame for production trouble. The documents link those leaks straight back to Blake's circle. Ryan was reportedly all in, orchestrating stories that painted himself as the savior of a project supposedly doomed by Justin's failures. But when you peel back the details, the complaints were flimsy. A stray comment during a bar scene rehearsal? Awkward, yes, but hardly harassment. Still, Blake's side spun it into proof of a toxic set. Meanwhile, Ryan was seeding Daily Mail with stories about how he had to rescue the script. Ironically, a script written by a woman and already approved by the studio. Legal voices in the documents even questioned whether his rewrites broke Writers Guild strike rules. Arrogant, reckless, and possibly illegal. By now, Justin's team could see it clearly. This wasn't a PR hiccup. It was a coordinated smear campaign.
I don't actually know what was said. To be fair, it's redacted, which is good. It's still under seal, as it's supposed to be. But it heavily implies that Blake's team doesn't have anything to not only prove the retaliation campaign, but this ongoing smear campaign that apparently has been happening not only since over the summer, but now throughout 2025, which makes no sense. A portion of Blake Lively's deposition has already entered the court, and it seems to imply that her allegations of retaliation are spiraling down the drain.
By mid-2024, Justin wasn't just facing bad press, he was facing a machine built to dismantle him. The documents confirm what insiders whispered for months. His studio spent nearly $9 million trying to hold the line. This wasn't a publicity push, it was survival. Every leaked complaint, every article painting Ryan as the hero and Justin as the villain demanded a counterstrike. Top crisis managers were hired, spinning overtime just to correct the lies. One strategist's note even mocked Ryan's arrogance, saying his rewrite story plays good for us, bad for them. But the cost was staggering. And the cruelest twist? Even as Blake and Ryan ran their smear machine, Justin was contractually forced to promote their marketing. Campaigns he didn't create, tone-deaf ads that romanticized a story about domestic violence, were stamped with his name. And when the public lashed out, he took the blame. The smear wasn't just damaging his reputation, it was bleeding him dry, financially and emotionally. The truth, according to these files, was clear. This wasn't about safety. it wasn't about justice, it was about control. And with millions already lost, Justin's survival in Hollywood hung by a thread.
Intense year, a lot of material success, and a lot of emotional stress. It's very hard on me and my family. And
for months, Blake and Ryan's version of events dominated the conversation. They controlled the headlines, leaked the right stories, and buried Justin under a mountain of spin. But then, something they didn't plan for happened. The audience pushed back. TikTok creators began tearing into the marketing for It Ends With Us. What was supposed to be a dreamy romance promo came across as offensive and tone-deaf, especially for a story rooted in domestic violence. Survivors spoke out, furious that their experiences were being reduced to floral graphics and shallow taglines. At first, Blake's team brushed it off as internet noise, but the criticism spread quickly. Clips resurfaced showing Blake giving dismissive answers when asked about sensitive topics. Fans began digging through old interviews, stitching together a pattern of avoidance. Suddenly, the question wasn't, is Justin Baldoni the problem? It was, why does Blake Lively act like this? Even Ryan wasn't untouchable anymore. Whispers about arrogance and ego started slipping into the coverage. The backlash wasn't orchestrated by Justin's team. It was organic, raw, and impossible to spin. For the first time, Blake and Ryan weren't controlling the narrative. The public was, and Hollywood was paying attention. When the court finally unsealed the emails, texts, and internal memos, the carefully polished image of Blake and Ryan collapsed in real time. The files showed more than tension on set. They revealed a playbook, a deliberate effort to undermine Justin at every turn. Strategic leaks to TMZ and Daily Mail? Check. HR complaints timed to land at the worst possible moments? Confirmed. Even Ryan's script rescue stories were exposed as manufactured PR moves to cast him as the hero while Justin took the fall. One text exchange was especially damning. Justin had warned friends as early as January 2024 that Blake was twisting the safety letter into a weapon.
And he says how to give her most of what she wants while maintaining some of my own vision. And starting Friday, acting and working with this person who can and will use anything she can against me. It's all scary. Yet I know I have protection. Starting this thread again, I will need the emotional, spiritual support. Love you all.
He predicted that anything he said would be spun into a headline, and the documents proved he was right. Another note from Justin's crisis team admitted Ryan's arrogance was helping them, not hurting. Good for us, bad for them, it read, a line that now reads like prophecy. The revelations didn't just poke holes in Blake and Ryan's version of events, they shredded it. What had been sold as a tale of bravery and support now looked like a hostile takeover. A takeover dressed up as heroism. At first, Blake and Ryan's strategy looked untouchable. They had the connections, the PR machine, and the headlines on their side. But once the cracks showed, everything unraveled fast. TikTok had already turned their marketing into a laughingstock. Survivors had called them out for trivializing abuse. And now journalists who once echoed their talking points were asking hard questions. Why did Blake suddenly gain producer power? Why was Ryan rewriting a locked script in the middle of a strike? Why did HR complaints always appear at such convenient times? Behind the scenes, allies began to distance themselves. Studio executives recognized the pattern. Leaks, planted stories, spin. The golden couple shine was fading, replaced with murmurs of manipulation and self-interest. For Justin, the shift was subtle but powerful. The same outlets that branded him the villain were now reconsidering. Maybe, they whispered, he was the one who had been wronged. His $9 million battle wasn't just holding, it was turning the tide. In Hollywood, image is currency, and for Blake and Ryan, theirs was suddenly in freefall. The empire they built on charm and narrative control was collapsing before their eyes. When the full stack of court documents finally became public, the illusion was gone. What Hollywood once whispered about in blind items was now laid bare in black and white. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds weren't victims of a toxic co-star. According to these files, they were the architects of a smear campaign, orchestrated with precision. Texts, emails, and internal notes painted a pattern. Timed leaks, planted articles, safety measures weaponized as bargaining chips. Even Ryan's supposed hero edit of the script was revealed as a self-serving stunt, one that may have crossed Writers Guild strike rules. The fallout was instant. Fans who once defended Blake started calling her manipulative. Entertainment journalists began openly questioning her ethics. Ryan, usually untouchable in the press, was slammed for arrogance and undermining a female writer's vision. Industry insiders were watching closely. If the allegations in those files held weight, Blake and Ryan had crossed a line that even Hollywood struggles to forgive, using claims of misconduct not to protect, but to seize power. The strategy had worked for a while, but now their credibility was slipping. And once credibility is gone, no PR spin can buy it back. Strip away the gossip, and what's left in this saga is raw ambition. The documents show Blake's safety letter wasn't just about protection, it was her golden ticket. With it, she secured producer status, editing control, and the ability to pull Ryan into the creative process. That meant influence over everything: rewrites, marketing, even the film's final cut. For a project already locked and greenlit, that level of control was unheard of, and it came with financial perks. Producer credits mean back-end profits. Shaping edits means shaping legacy. Ryan's script rescue narrative wasn't just ego, it was branding. By positioning himself as the man who saved a doomed script, he bolstered his star image while discrediting Justin. But the documents argue Justin's removal wasn't collateral damage, it was the end goal. As long as Justin remained director and studio head, Blake and Ryan couldn't own the success. By sidelining him, every dollar, every accolade, every headline could be tied back to them. It was a hostile takeover disguised as heroism, and for a time, it worked. But once the backlash grew louder, the empire they built on spin began to crumble. At the start, Blake and Ryan seemed untouchable. They had charm, influence, and a narrative no one questioned. But by the time the Unsealed files hit the public record, that polished image shattered. The marketing backlash had already soured fans. Survivors had called their promos offensive. And now reporters were putting the puzzle together. Why did Blake seize sudden producer power? Why did Ryan meddle with a finished script during a strike? Why did leaks always favor them? The answers weren't flattering. Inside Hollywood, whispers turned into cautionary tales. Studio heads don't forget when power games cross into dangerous territory. If true, Blake and Ryan hadn't just bent the rules, they had broken trust. For Justin, it wasn't complete vindication yet, but the tide had shifted. The same outlets that branded him difficult were now digging into Blake and Ryan's every move. In this town, image is currency, and theirs was in freefall. What began as a smear campaign ended as a lesson in hubris. They wanted control, profits, and legacy. What they lost was priceless: credibility. And once that's gone, even Hollywood's golden couple can find themselves standing outside the gates.